We have lots of action to go yet this afternoon, and we're going to start right now with Jim and Penny Caldwell and Michael Rood.
Well, it is good to have all of you here together. This is the Feast of Hanukkah, the only winter festival in the New Testament. And Yeshua went up to Jerusalem for that feast. We are celebrating the ramifications of that, and we have very special guests with us this weekend who have brought the evidence back from Mount Sinai. But with all of the work that they have done, it could not have been done without our guests that are with us right now. It was a number of years ago. I was lecturing across the United States. I was in Gulfport, Mississippi. I was showing some of the video of Mount Sinai, the split rock, these different things, explaining these things. At the end of the meeting, a couple came up to me, and the gentleman said, "Sir, where did you get that video footage? Where did you get those photographs of Mount Sinai and these different things?" And I said, "Well, the archaeologist that found these things gave them to me, but he said that he could not and would not tell me where he got them because the people's lives were in danger." And that is the premise, that's the understanding that I had as I spread this information out to the world, is that whatever this situation is, I don't know, I'm not going to ask about it, I am just going to give that same answer, that the people's lives were in danger. And so then the gentleman looked at me with his wife at his side and said, "Sir, that is the right answer because we're the people." And the evidence that they were able to secure as they were out in the land of Midian as oil field engineers for Saudi Aramco over those years, then I was at their place the next day, and that is what changed my life and then allowed me to finally bring them here to this event after all these years trying to get you in, and it happens. Jim and Penny Caldwell, everyone, give them a round of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, Jim, Penny, please take us back in time a little bit, how you got to Arabia and finally to Mount Sinai. We're going to take that journey, and of course, we have spent literally days going through this. You've written an entire book on it,
yes,
detailing everything. So we're only going to be able to hit the surface of this, right. But let's go for it. Okay, Saudi Aramco.
First off, thank you so much for putting this together. It's an amazing gathering of the people that have contributed so much. I was blown away with Andrew's information and Ryan's as well. It's been an incredible event. You've brought everybody together, and just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
They wouldn't
really,
have been
really
there inspired. They wouldn't have been there. Joel Richardson wouldn't have been there without you being the forerunners in this and laying the foundation.
I hope I look all right because the things I've heard brought tears to my eyes. So it's been incredible. This whole event has been incredible.
It really, truly has.
So quickly, and I'll do the best I can to try to condense it. In 1987, I took a job in Saudi Arabia, Aramco, and went over, moved my family over, and settled in the area of the Persian Gulf, right on the coast there in Ras Tanura. I worked in the largest oil refinery in the world. It's the Ras Tanura. We could do 20 million barrels a day through that refinery. It was an incredible
refined
facility.
That much.
Yeah, we could refine it, and the flare header was so large I could literally walk down in the inside of the pipe with 3 feet over my head. So this was an enormous facility. We settled in real quick. I wanted to travel in Kingdom immediately. We started camping. I bought a 4-wheel drive vehicle. We just hit every place. The Asir, we went to Jordan. We just traveled in every way that we could. And all the way through the Gulf War, we experienced a number of things in the Gulf War. Penny was evacuated for almost a year. And then she came back at the end of 91, or I guess around September of 91.
And you had your children, Luke and Chelsea, with you?
Yeah, the children were with us. They were in school
too,
there.
No doubt.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they still think that's home. We lived there 12 years, and
They do.
They kind of call that home. That's crazy. But In that time, when I arrived there, my aunt had sent me this article out of the Smithsonian magazine called "Has the Garden of Eden Been Found at Last?" And it was written by a guy named archaeologist named Yuri Zarins, and I was just blown away with it. He talked about the Garden of Eden being buried by the Persian Gulf, and we would walk the shore in the morning and see huge pieces of pottery rolling up in the waves.
That's true.
And just look out over the water and just imagine, what could that have been like? You know, could we be on the coast here and seeing these things? And after the Gulf War, Penny came back, and I had just an experience, let's just say that compelled me to want to go to the tradition, or to Mount Sinai. This was almost like a God calling. It just shot through me, and I said, "We've got to do that." She thought I was absolutely losing it, and that there's no way we're going to do this.
A year in the desert by yourself.
We're not going to travel. We broke every rule of camping in the desert. The first one was do not travel alone. We were alone. Do not do this, do not. We did them all. Go out of country, go into Egypt by yourself in a truck and sleep in the desert. You don't do that. We did them all. And so what we did is, here I have an example of what it was like over there. This was a book, a Bible that was brought in the kingdom, which Bibles are not allowed. So it secretly got in. And I would take the chapters and rip them out and then put some tape on here, fold it up, and stuff it inside of my jacket. I would sneak into the refinery at night. I was working 3 to 11 shifts, and I would study Genesis, Exodus, all the way through. Eventually, I got all the way through the Old Testament, tearing them out and studying on each one of these. And I compiled a list, thinking about this idea of going to Sinai and what we would see as a family, and just be able to teach my kids and let them know what we may experience. And when I read, I see things in video. It's kind of the way I am. She's a word person. She does all the Scrabble games and all that. She's a master at crossword puzzles and stuff. I'm not. I'm just put it that way. But I love video, and I like to work in video. And we had this detail, and every night we would watch the movie Cecil B. DeMille's 10 Commandments. Every night.
Just ask our kids.
Yeah, my kids know it
every night
by heart. Oh, so let it be written, so let it be done. They know all of these phrases. And so we were prepared, man. We were pumped up. We couldn't leave the kingdom. We couldn't leave Saudi Arabia until the next year. So we were going to be in position to cross the border on January 1. I think we left the day before. We went to Riyadh. We went up through Ha'el. We actually drove right by Jebel al-Lawz. We took the road that takes you to Ha'el, which brings you right in front of it. Didn't know, had no clue what was going on. We were going to the traditional site. We crossed the ferry into Egypt. We work our way. We stay at a hotel, this Sayadin village. We stay at this hotel in Nuweiba. And a lot of people are familiar with that term, Nuweiba. This is right there on the beachhead, across from Saudi Arabia. It most likely, in fact, I believe 100%, is where they were before they made the crossing of the Red Sea. So it's the beachhead, and we were staying there. The next day, we got up and we drove down to the mountain. And when we walked into that area,
this is Helena Sinai.
This is Helena Sinai.
Traditional.
As soon as we got there, you drive up in elevation. So the mountain is only about 1,500 feet higher than where you're sitting in your vehicle at the base of the mountain where the monastery is. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, all of these elements in the Bible, Elijah's cave, what we would see in the way of artifacts or potential formations, the altar, these pillars, all these fantastic things. A cave, you're expecting to see something like that. And we got about halfway up, and it had snowed the day before, and we're turned around. We couldn't go any higher. It was iced over. But it was one of the most disappointing events that I can ever remember having, a building up of something and then being let down. And she could see it all over me.
Yeah.
And she's always been, you know, the cheerleader and the one that's, okay, all right, this isn't it. This isn't what you were looking for, but we're going to go through Egypt, and by God, we're going to have a great time. And the kids are looking around saying, what are we doing here? You know, I could see my poor kids. And so I piped up and I said, yes, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a great time. So we saw every temple, every tomb, every museum. They were just yawn, you know, going through these. They're magnificent, and they probably regret not having paid more attention. But anyway, they'll go back in their own day. And we go through Egypt. Now we have to be out of Saudi Arabia for a minimum of 26 days. We're targeting around 28 days. And we go through Egypt, we come back to Sharm el-Sheikh. And in Sharm el-Sheikh, we stay at a kind of a hotel plaza, the Hilton. It was more like individual units. And they had a common bookstore. So, you know, we would go in the bookstore and get some chips and stuff and stay out on the beach. Even though it was January, it was still, you know, an area where you catch some sun, be on the beach. Water was a little cold. But we walked in the bookstore, and Penny's standing there, and she gives me that, Jim, look, you know, and I'm saying, oh, a book on cats. Got to be something, Egyptian cats or something. She says, oh, no, you got to look at this. And it was this book right here, The Land of Midian. And she says, this guy in this book is saying that the land of Midian, which we were thinking when we went to Sinai, that we were in the land of Midian, in the traditional Mount Sinai region. He said, no, the land of Midian is not there at all, and pulled out a map in the back. And on this map, it says the land of Midian is right here. I know you can't see this, but this is the map, and it talks about that. And she says, if the land of Midian is in northwest Arabia, then Mount Sinai has to be in northwest Arabia. She actually made that connection immediately, and then I looked at it and I said, you're right. This is amazing. I said, this is something we got to look at. So put the book, well, actually I bought the book. There it is. So we bought it. I took it. I went in and I started studying in this book and looking at the map. And I said, you know, we might be able to do something like this. So I'm going to run through a couple of slides. First off, this was where that bullseye is actually where we lived, and where the Sinai is. You can see in the left side is where the traditional site is located, and then that's our journey down into Egypt. But she comes back the next day and she comes up with this book called The Mountain of God. This is a book by Emmanuel Anati, and in this book, I opened it up, and there's this map sitting here. And this map, I'm looking across there and I'm saying, look at that. It shows Har Karkum, but more than that, it shows this place called Jebel al-Lawz. And what Emmanuel was saying was that there's 13 candidates for a possible location of Mount Sinai. He had completely dismissed the traditional site as having any connection to the mountain. He said, well, it's obvious there's nothing there. There's history there, great history. That monastery has wonderful ancient books that need to be investigated, need to be digitized. But he said it's nothing more than that. It's a tourist attraction. That's all it is. And then he points out this Jebel al-Lawz. So we frantically began to put together, it says major ancient routes across the Sinai. And we started looking at this. And all of those connections put you right in the right place for the 3-day journey out of Egypt into the right range. And Jebel al-Lawz falls into that arc of a 3-day journey from out of Egypt. So we planned on heading back to Nuweiba, where we came in at the Sayadine village, same place, 30 days before. We had a hotel room. We had a couple of breakfasts, and we left. Well, this time when we drive back to the Sayadine village, the manager, whom we barely knew, came out and he welcomed us back. I mean, the red carpet rolled out. We were saying, what's going on here? It's like this guy had no other customer in the world. We were the only that were there.
Yeah.
And he started going on about, he said, can you get me into Saudi Arabia? Can you get me in? And I'm sitting there thinking, there's no way I can get this guy in Saudi. I can't take a passenger on without a visa. Even though he's an Egyptian, they have certain abilities to cross into Arabia. It was a risk I couldn't take. Didn't have any room in my truck. We had rocks. We had everything else you could imagine. We'd collect everything. As we go along, it's like a vacuum. We just suck everything into the vehicle. And nothing gets by, you know. Yeah, it was crazy. And So I'm saying, I keep wanting to say his name, so I apologize, but I will not. But the manager, and I would say, what's going on? And he said, there was a man that was just here. He finally starts to reveal what he's trying to get across to me. A man that was just here. And he says, and he said the ark, and now I understood later that he was talking about the ark of Noah, Noah's ark. He says, ark, the man across, he says, it's over there in Saudi Arabia. So I'm thinking, now, what is he talking about, this ark? And who is this guy? So I got to thinking, when my sister had heard, this back at the beginning, that I was interested in the Garden of Eden and all of this ancient history, biblical history, she had seen on television a special that she recorded for me. And both my mom and my sister would do these things. They would see, so Jim might be interested in that. And they knew our ability to see material in Arabia was zero. We got no news, we got no special, we got nothing. So when I would arrive home for the repatriation, the month that we would have every year, I would, in the evening, I'd put a brand new VHS tape in, a high 8 tape in, and then I would record from the VHS to that tape. And I had a set of 10 tapes, and I would record every night. I'd put it in before we go to bed, and then I'd have that information from that VHS tape on a high 8 tape. So the advantage was you couldn't get VHS tapes into Arabia.
Yep.
They would confiscate them. But the high 8 tapes they thought were cassettes, audio cassettes. They let them go through.
Where there's a will,
I got them. So we would.
That's how you're watching the Ten Commandments then.
That's exactly
you got
right.
it.
Yeah.
You got it.
That's exactly right.
it.
Now there's still VHS quality. You know, it's horrible. But today, anyway, you know, look at this incredible UHD footage. It's just amazing. But so we're sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, he was saying a guy's name, and it was Ron. I didn't remember the last name at the time. And Ron, and I'm thinking, Ark. And I remember seeing, as this thing was being recorded and walking in and out of the room, I remember seeing a man sitting there with a model of the Ark.
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark.
Right.
Noah's Ark. Yep.
And I thought to myself, I wonder if I have that tape. And I started looking around, and in my bag, we'd been all the way through Egypt. We had 10 tapes to work with. We're on the number 10 tape, the last one.
Over.
We've recorded
Oh, you're recording
all
over
of those, all
the 10
9
Commandments,
tapes
everything.
were full.
Okay.
Full of Egyptian cats, whatever we could video, we had them all. So we're looking at this, and I'm thinking, now, could I possibly have anything about this guy? So I put the tape in, and he was saying that he had been there many, many times. Scuba diving, you know, Ahmed was telling me trying to tell me who this guy was, like I would know who he is. I had no idea. And so I said, no, so I put the tape in, and it was a high 8 prosumer model camcorder. A little better than the average, but not a professional unit. And the only way you could see through it was a little eyepiece. That's back in the day when they still had little eyepieces. Yeah. No flip out, no big screen, you know, no drone. And so So he's looking at the eyepiece, and as soon as I turned it on, there was Ron Wyatt's face.
It had
in
not
the
been
screen.
recorded over.
It
Right,
had not,
right at that
That's
spot where
miracle.
you
right
stopped.
at that spot where I had stopped, hit the record button and stopped it, that moment, and the guy went ballistic. He was just, how do you know this guy? I said, I don't know
We
this
don't
guy.
know him.
I said, but you're telling me this guy was here, okay.
But
And-
why
and-
is he on your camera?
Yeah, why is he
don't
on your
know.
camera? He's on your camera. So it was priceless. It was only could have been the Almighty. I'm telling
right.
you that could
That's
have
right.
put this together.
That's right.
So he's so nervous. 3 or 4 cigarettes. I mean, he's got light chains. There's one sitting on the tailgate there. It's lit, and he's smoking another one. He's got some drink in his hand, and I know he was just in a frenzy trying to get me to help him do this. And I said, I can't help you if I don't know what's going on here. I said, trust me. I said, I can help you out if I can. Let's look at what you have. And he said he left me a map. And I said, oh, great. Okay, I'm good with maps. Tell me about it. And so he was looking around. He said, we had to go to the furthest back room in the hotel for him to open the door, take me inside, and showed me this. And basically, it was a picture. It wasn't a map.
Didn't let me even go.
Oh, no. Kids
by
didn't want anybody else.
himself.
By himself.
This
by
was
myself.
so secret. He carried him off into the back room of the hotel, and
He
I'm
was-
thinking, what is going on here? Because this has never happened to us. The manager of the hotel has now taken away my husband into a back dark room, and I don't know what's going on.
We're a mess. We have a lot of junk, and the kids, they usually don't like us. At that time. But this guy was in love with us. So I'm saying something's going on. So he pulls out the napkin and he holds it where I can't touch it.
So this map is actually on a napkin?
It's
Yes.
a napkin, right. Somebody drew it on it. And it was more of a picture than it was a map. There really was not directions on how to get anywhere. But here's what he was saying. If you can get to this place. And it started to dawn on me that this it wasn't about the ark at all, but it was about Mount Sinai. And when I said, I don't remember exactly, it's been a long time ago, 25 years ago. Your memory gets kind of, Penny did a fantastic job in her book of kind of detailing these things. So I may have a few things wrong, but the on this napkin was drawn 2 pillars, like the tablets of the commandments, a cave. Down at the bottom, there were some more standing stone type pillars, and some cows. So you see, in my mind, what I had detailed in the refinery with this, what I call an identikit, when I was going through the scripture, what I was picturing in my mind as Moses sets the pillars up was almost verbatim what I was seeing in this picture. Elijah's cave sitting there. I'm saying, wow, this is really amazing. And so when I came back out, she said, what? 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 It was amazing. Just that emotion in that time was just incredible. When she understands what I had seen, plus the gold mines of Midian or the land of Midian, and plus the map and information from Emmanuel and Nadi here about Jebel al-Lawz. All of those things coming together, I whipped out the NOAA maps, which have roads and pathways and detailed geographical detail and some elevation information. And we immediately planned that trip to get into Arabia. We were already on our way, and incredibly, we passed right by the front of it. Right? Remember I was saying on the way in,
way
we
there.
passed
On our way
by
to
Al-Khan. The
Egypt,
sign is right there. I have a picture. We stopped for gas, and I took a picture, and that Al-Khan sign is right there where the Wadi Abiyad goes to the mountain. And had no idea that was the main passage going in.
So you were in country, you were out of America this whole time when Ron Wyatt attempted for 8 years to get into Saudi Arabia, could not get in by permit, and so he and his 2 sons then went from Jordan, crossed in the middle of the night over into Arabia, then hired a taxi
What year?
to get down to this. Well, that is what we'd have to ask them. Ron's two sons, exactly what year this is.
Right, right.
And but what happened? They get captured after getting there and finding this evidence and photographing it, video evidence. Then they get stopped at the border and they are put into an Arabian prison for 76 days. Now, this was on the news all over America.
Absolutely.
That's how I knew you couldn't have been in America even at that time,
Right.
because there were 3 Americans that were going to be executed as Israeli spies. But what happened is that Ron and his 2 sons, then they kept telling the same story to their captors, and finally a Saudi prince flew down, took them out to the site, and when they saw what you are going to end up seeing and what Ron showed you, what you saw on this napkin with the cows.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
that is what sealed it for them, and they released Ron and his 2 sons, but didn't give them any of the evidence.
That's right.
And so really what happened is that Ron Wyatt really took to the grave so much unjust criticism that everybody was after him, because there's no way that anyone outside the Roman Catholic Church, if they find this, could this have any relevance, okay? Whatever denomination someone belongs to, if their denomination didn't find it, they're going to just throw it in the trash. They're going to say it's not worth anything. And so that's what happened with everything that Ron did. It was just spit upon. But you don't even know him. You show the video to the man there who just got the map on a napkin an hour before. And then this is going to launch into an adventure that continues on to this day, with 4K drones going to the top of Mount Sinai with all these people that are backing this thing up. And so now, you get over there and you arrive at a mountain and you get to see that photograph, so to speak,
laid out
what was
in front of
down
them.
there.
Yeah.
It was laid out.
Let me tell you something that really stands out to us to this day, and I want to bring out this side of it because we have to give credit to our Creator. Our Creator has, from the days of Ron, and Ron, let me just say this out over the airwaves and make it exceedingly clear. Ron Wyatt thought this was Mount Sinai, and Ron Wyatt was right. Let's make that very clear. This is Mount Sinai. At the time, of course, we didn't know it. As we get into this story, and as both Ryan and Andrew can tell you, the locals in the area have harbored this secret for years and centuries. They will tell you that they have known this forever. But the first one in our time to have a clue about this was definitely Ron, and Ron needs to have that credit because it's just the truth.
Yeah.
And
his sons and his daughter and Mary
absolutely,
Nell, all the people that stood with him for these years. We're so thankful that they never cratered. They just remained faithful to keep that testimony going out there.
Absolutely. But for the part that I really want to bring out here, do you know what kind of detail has to take place? The realm of this being a coincidence that we missed Ron by about 1 hour's time crossing, but our amazing Heavenly Father is not outdone by our little foibles. He has plenty enough ability to have a small picture drawn on a napkin that the manager won't even let Jim touch. He will let him see it from over here, but don't touch it, and I know I'm not giving it to you. But what he didn't realize is that Jim had this, it was an imprint on his mind immediately. And when he came back to our room, he said, "Give me a piece of paper quick." And don't talk to me. And so he's scribbling, trying to remember this in his mind. And so he draws this whole picture, and then he begins to tell me. And it was Ron who left that picture. And what happened, we had already, as Jim had said, we had already, before we ever got back to Nueba, because of these 2 books, we made our plan to get to this Jebel al-Lawz. But I can tell you, and again, Andrew and Ryan, again, both testify here, Scott as well, those mountains, they are some of the most convoluted mountains I've ever seen in my life. It's as though 3 or 4 different mountain ranges have come together, and the upthrust has just, that one came up here, one came up here, one came up here. They don't follow any kind of normal looking mountains. And a lot of times, if we had, let me just put it this way, if we hadn't had that picture on that napkin, we could have searched for days and weeks and months trying to find exactly where it was. I'll just put it like that. There's a lot more to the story, but I'll put it like that. But when to have all of these things just take place exactly in the right lineup, let me tell you something. The Almighty has a way of maneuvering you for His will to be done. And He'll do it in your own lives as well. Just make sure you remember that. Because He's out for your good and not for your evil. He loves you. So in the middle of all of this, we've told our kids in the car now, we're heading into this region. It was, and we told Ron, we met him in Bahrain a few weeks after this whole event. Jim's sister got a hold of him and said, I have a brother who's in Arabia, and my brother has pictures of cows. And Ron knew exactly what that meant, because Ron had seen what he believed to be the golden calf altar, which he was right about. It is the golden calf altar. And when his sister said, my brother has pictures of cows, he was on the next flight out to Bahrain.
1 week.
And so
now that's a guy that loves cows.
I'm telling you. And
Cross land and sea.
We crossed over into Bahrain, and that was the first time that we had met. But can you see how from the beginning, Jim's in a refinery in Saudi Arabia, and Ron is in Tennessee and making a trip to Nueba, and what Jim has been prepped and Ron has been prepped, and eventually our paths crossed. And we started sharing photos and footage and all of this stuff that we were finding with Ron. And Ron was very good and true to his word. He did not release our names. We were frightened at the beginning of all of this because we were afraid if it were found out, because we had already had harassments from the first time we got out there.
Once at least by that
Yeah.
time. And
But he was
in a
very,
difficult
very
situation.
faithful and true to his word. He did not release our names, and we are very, very grateful.
the whole
Really
time we
bore
were
the
there.
criticism
Yeah.
on his own shoulders at that
Sure he
point.
did. He
Because
did.
he wouldn't say
He did.
what his source was.
Right, and I understand that, and I incredibly appreciate that
Absolutely.
he was able to do that. And it
Absolutely.
follows right into when we came back and we saw you standing there. I was blown away with the reverence that you gave all of this material that we had given to Ron and the way that you presented it. And I think that's one of the things that made us stay till everybody left. And we walked up at the end of that conference and said what we did. And it joined us. I mean, it's like locked us lockstep together.
That's right.
To try to get this information out. You have been, like I say, the greatest advocate for this material. Your passion for it is nonstop and incredible. And again, we appreciate that. But it continues to move forward. And just this void of the absence that we went through, because we were anonymous. A lot of, life goes on. I was a guy that did not have, I don't want to say not any interest, because it's all interesting. But prior to going to Arabia, I was an employee for Dow Chemical 15 years. I was never going to leave the country. For us to be in a situation where we went to Arabia was almost impossible. If you'd have told me in 88 that I would, 87 then, going to Arabia, I'd have said that's the most ridiculous thing. I'm a Cajun, I love to fish, I'm not leaving my water, I want to catch redfish, it's my life. I'm not, I wouldn't even know what that meant. And here we are. And as you were saying, You know, these entities out there don't want this information revealed. And you brought up Helena, and we have studied that one way and in and out. But ironically, it is the Roman Catholic Church's identified place. I agree. But you said they would have to find it in order for it to make any sense. I was born and raised Roman Catholic. So there you go.
Okay. So,
They found it anyway.
I guess prophetic utterance. Didn't know
All right,
a thing
so
about it.
yeah.
Okay, so the Roman Catholics found Mount Sinai a second time.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, give the guy a Pope hat.
No.
Well, they say that a man dies twice. The first time is when they put him in the grave. The second time is the last time that his name is mentioned. And so as long as I'm alive and as long as you're alive, Ron Wyatt will never die. You know,
Amen.
And
Amen.
what
And
testimony that he
Yes, indeed. Yes,
It's
indeed.
reported in her book. It's always going to be out there, and it should be. I think one thing that Tim Mahoney, who you introduced us to, who has just this thing has spiderwebbed out over the world, basically, and the connections that have come back, is that he's going to give that chronology of how these things came to be. You know, the Saudis have been knowing this is Mount Sinai for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's no secret to them.
Yeah, passed on generation after generation.
After
They're
generation.
still living in the same place. They're not spreading out around the world. They're
Right.
Bedouins.
Right.
This is
And-
this is their world.
And we're starting to get that on film. So every little thing that comes in now is making a bigger and better case for what this is. But the truth is the truth, and it comes down this line from all the way back in the 1800s when Sir Charles B.E.K. Beck wrote the book on Mount Sinai in Arabia. He literally has a, let's see if I can bring it up here. I have the cover. There he is.
There you go.
And he wrote the book. Penny bought me an original copy. It's about this thick, and I keep it in a safe. But it is the book on Sinai. And so his belief was that it is in this area. He never pinpointed. I don't think that he ever actually visited al-Lawz, but he was on the shoreline of the land of Midian, knowing that it was there somewhere. And so I always bring up a statement that he makes. This now applies to Ron as well.
Yes, it does.
And time will,
prove
and
me
it
right.
will apply to me as well, we hope. That as this evidence continues to be built upon, that it's going to make the case stronger and stronger. And at some point, people will be saying, man, I knew it all along. I knew that was a mountain. You'll have scholars saying, yeah, I was secretly, I believe that anyway. It's going to happen. It's going to come out. I always make this statement. Penny and I have literally been pushing this mountain up a hill. Like this giant ball, the one that came down on Indiana Jones. We're pushing it back up the hill. It's just her and I, we're going. We're right now, we've come to the tipping point. We're right here at the top, and it's starting to roll on its own.
Thanks be to God.
These two gentlemen right here are the ones that have given it this monstrous push
Yes, indeed.
to get it coming.
Yes,
and
indeed.
it's
And
going
without
to
the hand of the
overwhelm.
Almighty, it couldn't have happened for them.
That's
You know,
right.
this is where
right.
Yeshua said, I'm going to send you another comforter, and he will lead you into all truth. And so, both of these young men, they were like in their early teens. They were in junior high when this was embedded in them, when they first heard about this stuff. And then now they're able to do things that, well,
Look how it moved them, both of them, risking their lives to go into the country, bringing in equipment, dream equipment I could have never imagined owning. These drones.
Yep.
Still wants a drone.
I'm going to have a drone. Maybe to be a big helicopter and we can fly out there.
Yeah,
would even
that'd be nice.
better.
That'd be
A
better.
big camera, you know. I don't know, but
So as we were rehearsing this in your home 5 years ago, we said, you know, we've been wanting to get this out from when we were young, trying to get this out. And now between the two of us, we've got 13 coronary bypasses.
I've got
it-
7. He's got 6.
and,
It's like
so-
that's a claim to fame, you know.
But you know, yeah, we're willing to do it earlier, but sometimes things have to be in the hands of the Almighty.
Yes.
And I see what these gentlemen have done and what they're able to bring out to the world, and now get into the hands of Tim Mahoney.
Yes.
Because this is it. I mean, he's the motion picture man, and and it was just getting back from Nueva. I was camping there at Nueva a number of years ago. I guess it was 15 years ago, and just got back to the Christian Booksellers Convention. And there I met Tim, and I said, Tim, you've got to get involved with this. I do television. I do cheesy television.
I loved your cheesy
TV
television.
is great.
It needs somebody.
I got your first videos. This stuff is great. This guy's a master.
Well, I could see that this is the man that was really, I was moved by the Spirit that he was the one to do it.
Yes.
So connecting him with you and putting that whole thing together, and now it's taken over 10 years for that. It's taken 15 years for that. But
yeah.
see, it's still all in the hands of the Almighty.
Working.
And now
the
we're
timing.
passing on.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
timing is now. Think about the other thing that he did. We received a phone call from him after we got to communicate, and they had come to the house, I believe, and Tim Mahoney and his David Westner and some other folks had come to the house, so they had seen the things that we have in the video, and we get a call from Tim, and he's saying, "I need you to talk to this guy." His name is Dr. Leonard Moeller. Now this is he's in Minneapolis. He's filming.
Oh, you hadn't met Leonard at
We
that.
had
I hadn't met him yet. No, we
okay.
hadn't met him.
Not.
So Leonard gets on the phone and his fantastic accent that he had, that has this Swedish accent.
yeah.
And he says, Jim, and I won't even try to imitate it like your goat sound. I'm not going to go there. So I'm horrible at languages, imitating accents. So we get on the phone, and Leonard's asking me questions about the mountain, the front of the Elijah's cave. He wanted to know what that tree was that was sitting up there between the boulders. And I said, most likely it's an almond tree. I said, but on September 24th, 1992, I said, we made it to the top of Makla. And I said that these almond trees grow above about 6,500 feet, 6,000 feet, somewhere in that range. And you start to find them in groves, especially on Jebel al-Lawz, which simply means the almond mountain. They're in thickets on the crevices of the mountain. He stops me and he says, and it was like the room had gotten quiet because I could hear, I think his daughters were there and his wife was in the background. And he said, Jim, what year were you born? And I said, Leonard, I was born in 1954. And he says, Jim, I too was born September 24th, 1954. On the same day, and our destinies meet. He's on the other side of the world. Now, we argue about who's the oldest. And he told me, simply, he said, Jim, before you were born, I had seen the world. So, but I argued, no. I said, we look at times. This is the ultimate scientist, and he's talking about my birthday and his birthday. But in a week, he flies to our house. And the reason why was because in this magnificent book, the Exodus case, he had over 160 images that he had gotten from Ron Wyatt that were mine. Not that I wanted them. I'm just saying that they happened to be mine.
Yeah.
And he said, I've been searching and wondering where this came from, and I'm not going to write anonymous in my new book. He said, I want to put your name there. And he did. He flew to our house, and we went through all of our albums, verifying each picture to the picture that he had used in his book. It's a fantastic connection. Again, she was saying, this God connection is incredible.
Yeah. But once again, that shows just how true Ron and Mary Nell had been to not reveal our identity. Because Leonard, this was
That more than
a
anything,
few
really.
years
We're
later
talking about
when Leonard began to
publishing.
work with Ron to investigate this. And Leonard said, Ron told him the same thing. You know, yeah, you've got permission to use these photos, but I can't tell you whose they are. So I just wanted to make sure that we give him credit for that, because he was very true to his word.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to say something I've said so many times that, you know, I walk into a Starbucks or whatever it is, and so many times I say, they found Pharaoh's chariots and army strewn for 1.5 miles on the bottom of the Red Sea. We've got it on video. You've heard me say it 1,000,000 times. I say it all the time. I walk into a bank, anywhere. When I got back from Egypt, I walked up to Tim Mahoney at the Christian Booksellers Convention. I said, they found Pharaoh's chariots and army strewn for 1.5 miles on the bottom of the Red Sea. We've got it on video. That turns out to end up being the Exodus,
Exactly.
Exodus case, or patterns of evidence,
Right.
because
Right.
that's when he gets lit up by that. Get him in contact
exactly
with Jim
right.
and Penny, and all. So you never know where just a short sentence, where a testimony is going to lead to turn on the rest of the world.
That is exactly right.
That's fact. And Leonard and I have become, I mean, closer than brothers. We are, his passion for the material, that intelligence to be able to coalesce things together. He's on his 3rd edition. He flew to our house
really?
in 2002. No, was it 2002, somewhere in that time, right in the beginning. And we introduced a new concept to him about the Southern Wandering idea. Not to get into the minutia of it or detail, but he looked at me like, oh, no, I think, no, this couldn't be. This is impossible. But after about 6 months, he comes back and he calls us and he says, I'm adding a new chapter. It's chapter 4 in his book concerning the wandering in the wilderness in southern Arabia. He had gone to ancient maps and started studying. This is a scientist that's not going to speculate. But he said there is evidence before maps were Islamatized, Arabicized, if you want to call it that. But he said the names you find Reuben, the Reuben, or the Ruba Kali, which is the Arabic translation is the empty quarter. He says actually means Reuben the Chaldean. One of the sons in their inheritance was Reuben, right?
The people of Gad.
And he says in the southern area of Oman, the people of Gad is a name that's related to there on these ancient maps. Manasseh being a part of Yemen, the other corner, the half tribe of Manasseh that took their inheritance. These are some incredible things, just ideas that he's posted, written a whole chapter about in his book. And that is evolving as time goes by. We're seeing more and more information come out about that.
Let's go into that a little bit about the footprints, the chiseled imprint of sandaled feet, because this is a major thing that you found, and with Miles Jones finally getting the interpretation of that. Share that a bit with us.
Well, I will kind of never forget the moment that this took place, because Jim's office at the time was sort of a guest bedroom, and then he had his office stuff on the other side. And I was up there studying. I had the scriptures open on one side to Deuteronomy. I'd been reading in Deuteronomy, and my eyes were getting weary of reading this tiny little print. So I started flipping through some of our photo albums from the trips and just looking. And I came across these footprints. They always.
This is a photograph that you'd taken from the Sinai area.
In the area of the Split Rock is the first place we ever saw them. And what is intriguing about them, we call them the footprints, but that sort of puts the idea in your mind that it's perhaps like what they would consider prehistoric cave drawing, where somebody traces their foot and traces each of their toes like you would your finger. It's not at all what these look like. What it looks like is a sandal. And it's really important that it looks like a sandal. And it's very plain that it is a sandal, because they've taken pain to make sure that you see the toe segment and the two straps would be. And we started noticing them all over the rocks, and it is in conjunction with a language, well, not a language, but a dialect that they call Thamudic, which is the petroglyph writing on the rocks. And there's a lot of different scholarly opinion about the ages of what this Thamudic really is. I mean, wide swings, thousands of years of swings. And this is among the experts as to not only who put this here, but what is this and how old is it? Or is this something more recent, maybe 200-300 years, just tribal markings within the Arabian Peninsula?
And some of this, you know, you're going to get a humanistic interpretation, but
Right.
Who really
Right.
unlocks this is a believer, someone who's really studied the scripture and this writing, who's traveled this area. Is that?
Oh yeah, it's very true because to this. Well, let me just tell you what happened when we were first looking at them. I was up there studying, and I saw the footprints, and I went back into eventually reading. But I just happened to be right at Deuteronomy 11:24, that happens to say, "Every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours." And you know, you get the cartoon figure where the light bulb goes off over your head. And I looked back at that footprint, that sandaled foot, and I looked back at that scripture, and I went screaming down the stairs, "Jam, jam, jam, jam. What if these are the footprints of the children of Israel?" And it never had dawned on us before that could have any connection whatsoever. So
This is after years of being there.
yeah, and
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
them all the time. So we've said continually now to Andrew, to Ryan, also shared with Joel Richardson, keep your eyes open, because everything we've seen is like the tiniest tidbit of the top of the iceberg. There is so much we believe is still out there to be found, and they're starting to find things just like Joel did. But anyway, it wasn't but a few months later we were just crazy excited about this as a potential, because the first thing is, wow, what if these are related to the Israelites in their wandering? But number two, if we can follow the footprints, it'll show us where the Exodus route is. Just follow the feet, you know? So we came across, long story short, we met Dr. Miles Jones.
I got him on the screen.
We absolutely have become dear, dear friends with Miles. Miles' work is phenomenal. I just would impress upon you if you have a chance. He's been here with Michael and done a series. Get that series and listen to it, because he's on another tip of the iceberg that is fantastic about all of this stuff. But Miles, I was all excited to show him these footprints. Miles looked right past the footprints, and I was, be honest, just a little miffed. Like, didn't you hear, Miles, did you hear what I said? This might be the children. He said, wait a minute, I'm looking at this character on the side, because this is the genius Miles is.
Okay.
And to the side of all these pairs of feet, you see these 3 hash marks. And Miles recognized that as a Thamudic character. And Miles, when he first came to our house, he brought over like 12 file cabinets worth of information. He had a Mustang at that time, and I couldn't figure
boxes
out.
full of-
Boxes full of stuff. So we're digging and digging and digging, going through all of his old files, trying to find out what is that character, and we finally found it. And it represents the letter Cap, which literally means 2 things. It means the cup of the palm of the hand, or the cup of the sole of the foot. So when you have that calf next to the sole of the foot, what Miles said to us was, do you understand that this literally reads the sole of my foot? So it's as though not only is there a sandaled footprint there, but next to it, it says the sole of my foot. So if this is not related to the Israelites, it is one major, gargantuan coincidence. And we just kind of don't believe in that word called coincidence anymore.
Notice the scripture, Deuteronomy 11:24. This is just funny for me, but look at the date of the discovery, 11:24.
in our living room
we
with
pay
Miles
attention
Jones.
to these things. I mean, it's just a novelty, but it is incredible the way
Yes, it
God
is.
works this stuff out.
Wait, so
But
that's your birthday.
No, that's not. That is not my. But it could be. No, it's not.
September 24th. This is
24th,
November
but this is
24th.
2002.
Okay.
But it's just that it was the same as Deuteronomy 11:24.
Yeah.
Also helps me remember the scripture.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what is the funniest thing to me? And I one of the first years we were there, this was before we ever got into the Sinai issue at all. We had been in Arabia for several years before any of this stuff ever happened to us. But we had gone down to a shopping city center to the south of us called Dammam. And we had gotten out in a local neighborhood market and heard a huge ruckus. And so we kind of stayed near our car just in case there was, and a bunch of Saudis were chasing each other around up and down the street. You could tell this was like a fist fight was going to break out, except they didn't use their fists. As we watched this fight between these two guys develop, they grabbed each of them a sandal, and they just started bashing each other, slapping each other with their feet, with their sandals, feet. One of the first things we learned as we got there was don't ever point the bottom of your foot towards anyone, particularly the local people, because it is an enormous insult for the sole of your foot to be facing them. And the second thing is the worst insult on the planet is for you to pick up your shoe or your sandal and throw it or threaten someone with it. And I find that hilarious when the biggest promise of the land to the Israelites depended upon the sole of their feet. So in one culture, it's a great promise. In the other culture, it's the worst insult ever. And I just find that hilarious.
Opposites.
Exactly.
Imagine I'm a big guy, and the habit in Kingdom is to sit on the floor to eat. So I was always very conscious of the soles of my feet. But what do you do with these legs when you got to sit on the floor? They're going to point at somebody. Anyway, it would always be behind me. And the other thing, I don't know if you remember, was it George Bush that was insulted by a shoe flying?
By a shoe
through the air?
flying, yeah.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
That's what that was all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and Miles is an incredible guy, genius. He could wear us out. I don't know about. But
Yeah.
he never sleeps.
He's brilliant,
and he has
knows
more
his
information
stuff.
than any man
He really
I've
does.
ever
We
come
were
across,
bringing
other
him-
than Leonard.
bringing him
Leonard
on
was
some more
similar.
stuff. He's working with Nehemiah on a number of projects as far as the Hebrew Gospels.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
as they were translated, the Hebrew Gospels were actually translated into Catalan in Spain. But it came from a Hebrew original, and so they're doing some reverse engineering in that. And then AJ just let me know this week of a very big discovery.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
Like a dozen manuscripts of John 6:4 or John 6, in which John 6:4 is not existent. Photographs and
Really?
everything.
How about
Wow.
And
Fantastic.
so this, we might get him up here to talk about that a little bit later. Nehemiah's coming in this week, and so we got about 10 days to work on some of this stuff. But there are big things that are happening in the world right now. The Holy Spirit, again, leading us into all truth. And so Miles will be back with us on many of these things.
That's excellent. That's
That is.
excellent.
These are just a couple of things, additional proof as people have worked with us on these things. They like to categorize as many things that show what they're talking about. And you see the 3 hash marks representing the letter K. Here's another inscription that was translated, died Amalek. These are around the mountain area, so we have evidence of Amalek. And this is Dr. Kim. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Dr. Kim, but we met him and actually flew to Korea in 2006, met with Dr. Kim. And he was showing us a slideshow. He had worked in Kingdom for since 2002, I think left around 2014 maybe. 2000. Mm-hmm. And it was almost as if Dr. Kim comes in to the Kingdom as we were leaving, And I didn't meet him physically, didn't know he was there, but it's like a baton was handed from one runner to another because he had seen some of Ron's videos, and his passion then was to go to the mountain. So as soon as we left Kingdom, he started trekking there. He went 12 times. But this is when he started his slideshow, he came across this slide, and I jumped up and I said, that is the most amazing discovery I have ever seen. I said, that will become known as the oldest menorah ever discovered. And he has given us the ability to show this and talk about it. We share between us and him everything that we have, 100%, and just trying to get the information out. But that is...
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Just keep it on that slide for a second. This is amazing on so many different levels, and Dr. Kim and his wife found this. And what is profound about this is that it is within a body of what is called Talmudic text that appears to be all placed at the same time, which does one of two things. When Dr. Kim, who could speak fluent Arabic, spoke with the locals in the area, he asked them specifically about the writing on the rocks, this Talmudic writing, and the footprints. He went into great detail with them, and being as how the prince's plates were on Dr. Kim's four-wheel drive, they were very eager to speak with him. And they answered a lot of questions amazingly. What they told him about this text on the rocks, which, by the way, is found all over the entire Arabian Peninsula, not just in the northwest around the mountain. In fact, it gets more and more prolific and more expanded the further south you go. And this is what fascinated Miles so much. And once again, Miles is just brilliant in his interpretations of these things. But that menorah, in line with that Talmudic, and these footprints all seem to be in many of these rocks you find from the same time frame. And when Dr. Kim pressed the locals about who put this on the rocks, their answer in Arabic was Yahud, which means the Israelites. And then he pressed them further. But what about the footprints? Yahud. What about all of the writing? Yahud has put this. And it's very clear in their history and what they know about their own region that it was the ancient wandering Israelites that inscribed these rocks. That's been in their history as long back as they can remember, and that's what they shared with Dr. Kim.
Let me just check and see. I'm going to skip through this. And
There you go.
This is Leonard and I at my computer. He wanted to take, again, in the way he analyzed things, he wanted to take the menorah, and this is just my crude, we did this in 20 minutes, take the menorah and just extract the image as crude as it is. He wanted it to be exactly what it was, and then we overlaid it with the menorah, the oldest known menorah, dating back to the Roman Titus Arch. That menorah there, and it's identical to the one that you have here, almost very, very close. And the overlay, proportion-wise, fits perfectly. So whoever inscribed this on this rock was looking at that menorah. You see what it was?
Yep.
That's Leonard's analysis on that, and thought that was
incredible.
Absolutely phenomenal.
And now Dr. Kim, while he had the prince's plates on his car, he was a personal physician to the Saudi prince who was in charge of Mecca. Is that, do I have that right?
He is the Pope of Mecca. Whoever is the governor of Mecca, of that province, is also the head of Islam. That's just what Dr. Kim described to us. So the man...
And he was his personal
physician, yeah.
Okay, so that allowed him to move around Saudi Arabia and as almost nobility.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
when they saw the royal plates, they knew that he had connections. Everything's the Washington Kingdoms, you know. So it was real important to get to know Dr. Kim. But yeah, there's so much we could get into the weeds very quickly on this.
There's a lot yet to be uncovered.
We cover a lot of this in our
Out of the weeds, and
PowerPoint.
let's get into the stones.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So I didn't know if you wanted to go
Yeah,
there.
let's just
Oh, yeah, we wanted to go
just
there.
leave it on
Okay.
that. Let's just leave it on that slide, Jim.
Not holding
Over to
it.
the stone. There you go.
Yeah, here we go.
All right. So another thing we saw while we were there in Korea, looking at his collection, was he had these.
This is Dr. Kim.
This is Dr. Kim. Yeah.
And you went to Korea.
Went to
Yes.
Korea. Yeah, I took two very expensive cameras. I wanted to video his story. I wanted to capture that, and I wanted to, just get to know him and see what we could do together. And he had cases. He had just moved back from Kingdom. He had quit his job and was relocating because he wanted to go out and start speaking about this whole story. And so we really kind of, it was a hand in glove type situation for both of us. And when he got to these stones, we were, we're looking at this and saying, this is phenomenal. How did you get this? This is the type of thing that we were always having eyes for. We wanted, if we could see something like that, an artifact like this, we wanted to document it and make sure that we had photographs of it. So I said, how did you get this and how did you get it out of Kingdom? Well, one of the privileges of being who he was and who he was working for was that he was the recipient of everything that the prince didn't want. And he didn't care for any of these artifacts, and he was always getting them as gifts from people out in the field. And these
Very
came-
legitimately, mind you.
Very
These are
legitimate. All this is
gifts.
legitimate, and he
didn't-
was gifted
He didn't take them.
So he owns them, basically. This is a few samples of many, many things that I cannot wait for that interest level to get to the point where people are saying, what else is available? What else can we look at? Come on, this is so interesting, we need more. And he would be a resource for a lot more. And of course, if it opens up in Kingdom, then we have access to unbelievable things.
But it was actually Miles Jones
Who did the interpretation.
who did the interpretation of this. Now, mind you, there's a little bit of a controversy over this particular stone because, the Israelites were not supposed to be running around carving little votive stones. This is not a good thing. However, it is a very informative thing because, first off, this is a very Semitic-looking face here in terms of archaeology. But secondarily, you can see on either cheek there is a Thamudic character. And if you turn it around to the backside, there are two more Thamudic characters. When Miles Jones first looked at this, we happened to be in Minneapolis. Dr. Kim was with us. We were up there at Tim Mahoney's, and Dr. Kim was with
Leonard
us.
was with us.
Leonard and Miles as well.
We had the whole crew
And
together.
when Dr. Kim brought this out and presented it, Miles just about shot off like a rocket because he took one look at this and translated this. What Miles said these characters is YHWH. Now, like I said, it's highly controversial because this is something the Israelites were not supposed to be doing.
But they went to the golden
they
calf
did them
immediately.
anyway.
They had idols all through the
Right.
scriptures. You read this
They are
constant plague. They were
constantly.
constantly plagued by these.
Right, and the Almighty is constantly saying through the prophets, what's that under your tent? You're not supposed to be doing this. My anger is...
What's in your bag, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is not something the Israelites were supposed to be doing, but we have continual evidence throughout the scriptures, particularly the prophets, that they were carving little idols and calling them God. And so Dr. Kim has been clearly spreading this information beautifully, and not very long ago, he sent us a package in the mail, one of which we brought here for Michael, just so that he can continue to tell this story. And it's right here. This is not the stone, but this is a replica of this, quote, Yahweh stone that's been found on the peninsula in Arabia. I don't know who found it. It was gifted to Dr. Kim, but apparently there's a lot more of this kind of stuff that's been dug up in Arabia, which just lends more and more and more credibility to the fact that the Israelites wandered in Arabia, not in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt.
So I'm going to put this on display out in our Mount Sinai area, as Andrew gave me a palm seed from the 70 palms of Elim, and also a part of the blackened rock from the top of Mount Sinai, and also some coral from the Saudi side of the Gulf of Aqaba, the Red Sea, the Yam Suf properly. And so these are going to be on display, just as we do have our temple treasures display out there. And so that people that come in, we have churches, Sunday school classes that come through here. And so this helps us to tell the story. And so I very much appreciate adding this. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Oh,
I love
absolutely.
that
It's
I was
our
able
pleasure.
to have my hands on that and be able to give it to you.
Well,
Appreciate
beautiful.
it.
Yes,
Again,
indeed.
I wanted to show another thing from Dr. Kim. It's
Please.
just it's a short video that he videoed with a cell phone. But again, in the vein of these types of stones, take a look at what else is out there. We're,
Go ahead.
again, only scratching the surface.
What else?
But
What
don't-
else?
Don't
Yeah.
play
Oh,
it yet.
yeah.
Hold on.
Uh,
One thing that I
hold on.
do want to say about this was actually shown to Dr. Kim. He does not have these items.
No, he does
This
not,
one he
no.
did, but this was a little video that was shown to him by what he called a smuggler who was trying to get him to buy these items. Now, I don't know who the smuggler was. He was a local, I do believe. And I don't know precisely where these were found, but you will see very clearly that this also relates to Israelite.
We would tell you who it is, but their lives might be in danger.
No. No, it's not. It's not us, believe me.
And there's no audio here, so we can talk
Yeah,
over it.
but you can see how very Semitic the faces look on these, and clearly they're idols. These are little idols. There's nothing good about what you're seeing here.
Oh, yeah. In Israel today, the Canaanite Easters, goddess fertility, you can buy them at every archaeological site.
Yeah.
They've got these pagan things.
Yeah.
So,
And-
the golden calf was tomorrow's a feast of Jehovah.
Yes,
It's like,
yes.
Yes.
they never got away from this.
No.
What's unique about this? I don't think that sickness.
Oh, yeah.
That sickness has hit Arabia yet.
Look what's on the bottom.
no.
This
Wow.
yeah,
Look
this
what's on the bottom.
making of artifacts. I think
Yep.
these are genuine, original.
Oh, yeah, these are
pieces
original.
that came out of graves and grave areas.
Yeah,
Oh,
these are
yeah.
not replicas.
Yeah, these aren't
This
replicas.
is against
Look at this one.
Islamic law.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
But it was also against.
It's me.
I was gonna say a very Moses-looking character, but
But look on the bottom.
yeah.
Look on the bottom.
It
Again,
is beautiful.
What are
again, we
these
get
things
these
doing
menorah.
under the sands of Arabia, pray tell? If this story doesn't continue to get bigger.
And I love the craftsmanship that went into these things. These are beautifully made for the ancients to make this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but now
They
watch
were
the back.
yeah.
Watch
incredibly
the back of this
skilled.
one. The back of this one is truly amazing.
So there you have the fertility goddess.
Yes.
It's exactly. Yeah.
Look at this. And this is some kind of star representation here for the. But look at the double menorah at the bottom. It's a menorah
Imagine-
in relief.
Yeah, doing that in stone, where you can kind of see two menorahs
Yeah.
at once standing together. It's a pretty phenomenal piece.
So, for anyone to say to us, and a lot of sort of what the experts say is, well, you have a few marble pillars, and you have a cave, which is a natural cave, and you have some sort of little stone formations at the bottom with some cows on some rocks, and you by this lay claim to this being Sinai in Arabia. No, that's not all that's there. And the more you dig in to what's been found in that whole peninsula over all the years, and you add to that the tradition of all the elders of the tribes, you got to realize Saudi Arabia, it was al-Saud, the king, who united all of the tribes together to make Saudi Arabia. But from as far back as history goes, this is a tribal society in the same manner as is consistent with the scripture. And they have known these things and kept these things in their generations from the beginning. You add to that the traditions, you add all the things you find around the mountain, and when you expand from the mountain, the story continues to support the fact that the wandering in the wilderness took place on the Arabian Peninsula, not just over to the mountain. Okay, so say you do believe it's the real Mount Sinai, and you move them directly over to the right mountain in Arabia, but then you still route them north, you still have a really big problem, because it doesn't take 40 years to go that few miles. You know, it says, the scripture says that Elijah took 40 days and nights and got to Horeb, mountain of God. If it took Elijah 40 days, how could it have possibly taken 1 million plus Israelites 40 years? That makes no sense at all. So there's something, there's when you expand your view further into Arabia, as Leonard Moeller did when he started looking through the old maps and finding so many Hebraic names in the very old French maps, German maps, before current day place names changed. And you have Dr. Kim, who has the testimony from seeing all of this kind of idolatry, mind you, but coming up out of the sands from much further south than the mountain. You've got a story on your hands, and it's only going to continue to get bigger. It is why we are so stoked and pumped for Andrew and his work, and Scott and Ryan and the people that are going along with you, how this continues to expand. I guarantee you there is so much more to be found out there that's just going to add to all of this and just segment this story together for a rock solid case one of these days. It's like going back to, and time will prove me right, that Charles Beck said in 1878. He was convinced Sinai was in Arabia, but he never got far enough in. In fact, I think it was at Magna that he got sick and ill and had to return to England, and where he passed away. So he never got into the peninsula to actually find it, but he was well convinced by Scripture it had to be in the land of Midian in northwest Arabia.
So with what Leonard has continued to do, it opens things up. You know, the 42 camping sites, they're all labeled, they all have names, and this is over a 40-year period of time. And that 40 years was specifically for the death of the elder generation, and that the younger generation that they said our children are going to be destroyed out here. No, they're the only ones that got to go into the promised land.
Of things. I know you wanted to talk about the split rock and some new information that Penny had thought about.
Yes.
So, is that clock right? Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's how much time we've got left here.
So let's
I think we better get.
Are you okay with that? Do you want to do that?
You've also got the. I'm looking at the clock as well. You've got. Let's let you make a decision here. We've got some really, really old non-high def.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Yes, no, we have to show these.
I have to show you something because I want to. You know, we saw some split rock last night, but there's something we wanted to show, and I particularly Andrew showed you so many unbelievable. I mean, I was crying half the morning looking at that video, that ultra high def and drone video that Andrew showed.
Yeah.
But we've got
Ryan's going to be coming up next, and we've got a half hour of
absolutely.
Great
We
stuff.
are so excited about that.
Take us back to the origin.
These are short, so we can
they're
do these.
short. But I want to show this to you because you see Andrew sit here. And you know, everything's nice and crisp, and the
Spoiled,
video's
y'all are
playing.
spoiled.
And it looks
you.
like that
You're
Andrew
not, yeah.
has
Some of
just-
y'all have seen our original videos. It's horrible, but
It looks like Andrew has just waltzed in and with his movie company and made a movie, and that's not how it is over there,
No,
guys.
not at all.
It's not that
brutal.
way. And I'm going to show you some of the brutal side of it with some very ancient, old footage and show you just how hard it is to
Sure.
traverse those rocks. The
Here we go.
land is huge.
We managed to get up to that ledge right there. And
It's
then,
rough. It's
after working pretty
dangerous.
hard to try to scale the top,
That rock
figure
is
out
10
that
feet
there's
tall, the one
absolutely
that's in
no
the
way.
middle there.
Yeah, just those
I
little pieces.
couldn't stand there and get over, get
precarious
a
as it
place
is
or
up
find a
there
way to
down
work
here,
around it.
For sure. And then we are sliding, literally sliding the
We
backpack
slid off
down
this ledge with our backpacks.
face right here, down into this area.
And then you can see my
And then
rope.
on down to the basin. And you can see where my backpack
That was a
took
brand new backpack.
Took a toll, it's filthy. You get your rain thing packed?
This is not happy. You saw that finger?
Kind of chewed up in his rain cover.
Yeah,
You
we
see the, slices
darn near
there.
went flying off the mountain. Like, Andrew, you can relate. I know you can relate.
Saw how that backpack was, that cover was cut?
It was all torn up.
That rock is sharp.
Everything's intact.
Sharp as
Now we gotta
razors.
work our way back down and around this thing right here to see if we can pick the other waddy up.
That's 1,500 feet above where we're standing.
A little
This area is massive.
problem is,
When Andrew tells you he's been 15,000 miles, it's true. It's the truth. He's trying to find me in the viewfinder, and he can't even find me.
And she's 100 yards away. I can't.
These
I'll get her
mountains
here in a second.
are
You'll see.
huge.
There
See?
she is.
You can't believe how big this is.
And windy, like you were saying, you almost got blown off the mountain. There's some currents that happen in this
Yeah,
area.
see, you can't even find me in the picture. That's how big these mountains are, y'all.
Okay, how'd you like to climb it in sandals like Moses?
And that's the top of Jebel al-Lawz.
That's the top
that
of
was
Jebel
the goal.
al-Lawz.
It took us 4 trips to get up
But
there.
we couldn't get up. We spent 3 days hiking 12 miles and got to the place and couldn't get up it because we're not rock climbers. I can't climb like El Capitan. Not these two people.
Oh.
But so watch, and you will see.
I'm showing this because I know that you're going to go up this mountain. I know you're going to do it, and you will be successful. But here's what you're going to need.
Yeah, but this is short. This is
In
short.
3
right?
days. It's short enough.
Okay.
well, we've been 2 days in the mountains, and after trekking at least probably 12 miles cross country there and back, we're back to where the truck is. And I just wanted to show you some of the gear in a little closer detail. The way that it's sitting on me, some of the things we carried some almond tree rods down. So I'll show you how we lashed those on. We're both exhausted, but
I can barely talk.
the pack still has taken its toll on my body. Get a look at the backside.
This is what it takes to get that footage Andrew got.
What I'd really like you to pay attention to is this shoulder right here.
Yeah, this is something
Just
else
that.
that
The rocks are
is a
sharp.
benefit of all this. Gets ripped out, clothes ripped off.
Big hole in the shoe somewhere.
Brand new pair of
Yeah,
shoes.
Yeah.
One trip.
Can you zoom in on that?
See the holes
yeah.
in the
Real
Got
shoes?
it.
pretty sight, isn't it? Yeah, a couple of climbs with these, and they're absolutely useless. All right, it's your turn. Cap things off here, right at the end of the tape. The end. That's it. Okay, babe, why don't you turn around for me? You notice that her almond tree rod there, or walking stick. Got a little tri thing on top. It looks like a made her look like a reindeer all the way down, especially the shadow. Yeah, I can imagine. It's about 2 feet. In fact, it is 2 feet above your head. Give me a side profile. Now, that's
45
one weary
pounds.
hiker there, I can tell you that.
Never lied.
Let me go over here.
Yeah.
So you got that delta system right there cinched down so tight. You play notes on it right now, right on the top of her head.
Yeah. So you can
That's what I'm talking about there.
you can cap it off there,
All right.
because we're going to run out of time here shortly. But I just wanted to tell you and show you. First off, it's not easy. What Ryan has, what Andrew has, they have really gone out of their way to get this stuff for you. It may look like he just breezed in and took a vacation. No, this is unbelievably rough.
And the amount of money it costs to do these trips. It cost us a little fortune
Yeah.
to go over there and get this
But the
information.
second thing that I just want to say as we're closing up right here, and I know Michael would agree, you are seeing things that the Almighty is revealing. He's continuing to reveal. He's moved it on from now going into a whole new generation, and more is being uncovered about the truth of who He is, and what His Word is. Do not be, as Hebrews says, hard-hearted about these things. Realize what they mean. This isn't just a great adventure story. The Almighty is revealing Himself and His Word and His eternal covenant with humankind. It is very important that you harden not your hearts as they did in the days of the provocation. So if this is your first experience with Sinai in Arabia, pay attention to the Word of the living God.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Penny. Thank you for being with us. Thank you very much. Shalom.